I'm talking about Hollywood bombs and Disney bombs, and it's not just it's like oh this right wing touch grass, chat, and go outside, whatever. I think Disney lost like $900 million last year because they're making woke cancer that nobody wants to watch. Not even the left wing. They say they love this stuff, but when it comes time for them to get that Disney Plus subscription, they go, I guess I'm just busy, or go out and watch any of the animations or this movie Dial of Destiny that came out last year, or a bunch of the other Star Wars or Disney, whatever streaming shows and big screens that's coming out. The left wing, these movies are made for left wing people. All that diversity, feminist stuff that is obviously cancer to me, to us, but it's made for the left wing, and the left wing doesn't turn up for this stuff. And then they say they want this stuff. They virtue signal incessantly about this crap. At some point, there's going to be enough of a discrepancy between there's like a financial vacuum that's in Hollywood, and it's growing. And that means people want escapist entertainment. They want the old Indiana Jones. They want the old Star Wars. They want a bit of action adventure, the hero's journey, classical organic stories that flow from essentially tribalism, which is very like nowadays would be considered very right wing, but that's how humans are. And Hollywood now is presenting this story of this Bolshevik worldview of how they want humans to be, and nobody's going on board with it to the point that Hollywood is losing billions of dollars and they're doubling down because it's a religion to them. But this financial Hollywood vacuum, when it gets big enough, eventually someone with a production company is going to look at it and is going to start filling that role of making classic movies that are. It's going to start by being a little politically incorrect, and it'll just get further and further politically incorrect. And ultimately, you look at these people and go, if you don't want to watch these movies, don't watch them. But so Hollywood's trying to sell this stuff, and it's not buying it, and they're losing money. So someone's going to go like, I can't turn down the opportunity to make this kind of money is so huge. But the thing is, the buy-in, this is not like making a YouTube video. The buy-in point for making a movie is obviously $100 million, and then the distribution, the advertising, all this kind of stuff. But eventually, it's going to happen because they can't. Somebody will crack, and somebody will say, "I just got to make some politically incorrect movies, some bikini zombie type of girl movie that they used to make." They'll start with something silly like that, and then I think they'll probably work their way up. Or big Hollywood will just go the way of, like theater or vaudeville or all these kind of things where there's live theater and opera and stuff. It's still around, obviously, but it's a very select audience. It's much more. The tickets are 10 times the cost, and it's a whole different vibe. And they're probably not spending the same amount of money on those kind of things. So anyway, another Indiana Jones bomb is planned, and they will remake everything you enjoyed, mostly from the 80s, and ruin it with woke cancer because they're just going on the name recognition to get you in the door. I'm sure Goonies and Gremlins will be up next, and someone was talking about remaking Airplane. They won't make a good Indiana movie today, but they won't be making many good movies in other genres either, to be fair, because Hollywood is woke, but they're also trapped by woke, which are kind of two different things. We could make fun movies, but they wouldn't be politically correct, and there would be a lot of bitching and moaning online from the usual Twitter suspects who they say they want something, but then they just don't pay for it. But ultimately, if 10,000 freaks on Twitter, childish weirdos, are crying about something that's offensive to them, who cares? Because if you have a distribution company, like if Netflix wants to make something that's starting down the path of not politically correct, they could, and no one would be able to stop them. Because they would just say, yeah, if you don't like Netflix, don't buy it. But I suspect that their subscriptions would be going through the roof. And keep in mind, Netflix is the company that made Cutie or distributed it. So obviously, they're not interested in going down that pathway. They're interested. They serve a different master. So the thing is, Hollywood has no interest in making fun movies anymore. That ship has sailed, and just as well, because if Hollywood dies, that's all for the best. Which I know that sounds crazy, but I can say big Hollywood can die if they continue down this path. They're going to shrink, and then the infrastructure, i.e., the theaters and the things that go along with that, start to collapse, and then it just kind of goes in on itself because there's just not demand for big screen movies anymore. So maybe eventually, like, it will become a very select big screen experience, and then most things will be on streaming, sort of thing. So Indiana Jones is especially not going to be made today, and that chick. Waller Bridge or whatever might be in a Tomb Raider movie, which you can't make either movie nowadays, which are based on Henry Rider Haggard books, because they were based off of explorers and finding artifacts and putting them in museums. But nowadays, to the Twitter activists, the slacktivists, that's not politically correct. This guy Asmongold or something is in trouble over at Twitch because he took the wrong side in some current affairs issue. A little bit surprising. The thing is, the reality is that with these artifacts that are in these hidden pyramids in a jungle or something, if the people discovered them, they were just going to sell them to private collectors. That's what happens all the time, or they get destroyed. And a lot of times, you're robbing the world of this history, and that's kind of an ethical argument for you to make. It's like, is it the right choice to take an artifact and keep it safe in a museum so the world has that history? I look and I go, yeah, absolutely. You're taking something from a primitive culture that is not able to curate it, and they're going to destroy it, or they're going to sell it to a private collector who's going to lock it away from the rest of the world. Yeah. There's not great answers, but for the virtue signaling left wingers, they can always virtue signal, because I think for a lot of it they don't care until it comes on there. Like not Anita Sarkeesian. Who's that girl? The girl on the Young Turks who got attacked in L.A. and her own team got mad at her. Her own left wingers got mad at her because she was talking about these homeless, drug addicted people who had sexually battered her, and they're saying you're bringing negative attention to them. She's like, I was attacked. So she's leaving the left wing, and other people pointed out, like, she didn't have the empathy and sympathy for other people. It had to happen to her for her to say, oh, maybe the left wing is like, we can't have criminals walking around the street. It's like, that's Aleppo. That's not a civil society. I forget her. It's Cenk Uygur. Whatever. Or for, you've got groups like ISIS that'll come along, and there's how many videos and pictures of them destroying all these, history, essentially. It's like, didn't that happen in America and Europe with the Antifa and the BLM were destroying those things too? Yeah, but I mean, these things in America are not 10,000 years old, and ISIS was dragging those things down and destroying priceless artifacts. And you go, it's bring those to a British museum. They're they steal everything. But then you show the videos, like, well, would you rather have it in existence in a British museum, or would you let a terrorist group destroy it? Easy call for me to make. So the harsh truth is not politically correct, but it's better to just tell the Twitter SJWs to go eat a bag of dicks, which is very satisfying. And I would love it if like Disney, like, it's not going to happen. Disney or Netflix or Amazon or Warner Bros. Those big, they're never going to have a come to Jesus moment, because they worship Moloch, and they're on islands, and they drink sanguine baby fluid. Anyway. Political correctness isn't real. It's just lies pushed by globalist parasites. If you're correct, you're just correct. There's no such thing as politically correct. That just translates into it's something other than correct, which is a lie. If you have to be PC, you're not telling the truth to somebody. So there's no way to do an Indiana Jones in this current Weimar, because in Hollywood world, the third world people have to be the good guys, and there is no nuance. So a younger indie movie would be set around World War I, and he'd be traveling around the world rescuing artifacts and being attacked by dudes with face paint and spears and blow darts and bones in their noses, which I guess the SJW kids have brought back, like nose rings and I don't know, like rings in their ears. It's just pay me attention. Yeah, we get it. The tattoos were edgy in the 70s. And I seriously doubt that Disney has any interest in making those movies. They couldn't even make a Pirates of the Caribbean anymore, regardless of Johnny Depp, just make one at all, because it would have to be insufferably woke. The only storyline that Hollywood wants to push now is Blonde Man Bad, and if they can make him look even more like Trump, then they'll double down on that and use every movie to hit you over the head with whatever is the globalist theme of the day. And finally, the audience has rejected the messaging when it's this heavy-handed, because the movies are losing a lot of money. Disney, for example, lost almost $1 billion the other year because they're making movies that people aren't watching, which sounds so dumb to say it that obviously. And they can't argue that, but they can argue. I go, oh yeah, the movies are woke. That's why, it has these woke themes: anti-white, anti-Christian, anti-natal, Missinger's themes of toxic far left-wing beliefs. It's anti-family. And the left wing, that's what triggers the left wing, is the woke concept. They go, no, they're not making money for other reasons. Okay, I mean, you can ignore reality, but you can't ignore the consequences of ignoring it, and that's to the tune of negative $900 million for Disney. And the thing is, now it's become a programmed stimulus response. Like the last two examples were the Marvels with Brie Larson and Madam Web, which are chick flicks, because if you see chicks or non-whites, you know it's going to be cringe, because it almost always is, and in the rare chance it's not, the audience doesn't give it the benefit of the doubt anymore. And I know Zach is criticizing, I'll just use him as an example, where he's criticizing other YouTubers who laugh at these movies, because to him the movies aren't that bad. But movies have to be better than not that bad. They have to actually be good. And the thing is with woke, is why I mean it's kind of in a death spiral now, is because we've become intolerant of any woke, any preachiness whatsoever. So it's just like we're on a hair trigger right now. So I really think you're going to see a transformation in Hollywood like in the next 10 years. And so the thing was with the movie, it's a 90-minute movie, and you factor in the time it takes to get off the couch and go to the theater, which people don't want to leave the house anymore. I think the Wu flu had a lot to do with it. But you talk about like bars and restaurants, they're just the thing. It's just a whole different world post the Wu flu. Plus the cost of the movie theater, and the movies have to be worth it. And this is the worst time in movie history. Trump made these people absolutely insane in 2016, and then the combination of developmentally disabled people on social media, cell phones, and the bullshies in Hollywood going full mask off with their movie narratives post the 2020 stuff. It's just a poop storm of cringe. And then you have the Antifa and the Black Riots of 2020, and it's just hot loads of woke all over your face. And the audience is not spending money to watch these things, which I think needs to be said, because it really does boil down to something that easy. And 40 years from now, people are going to look back at this preachy woke cancer period and wonder why everything got so weird. Except it's not us getting weird. We're perfectly normal. It's these freaks in Hollywood and the virtue signalers on Twitter who say they want these things, but they just don't pay for them. And this is a perfectly good time for people to realize Hollywood's not a reflection of society, of people's minds and views. Hollywood is almost totally in control of shaping people's views. And now, as it's finally starting to lose power, the video game industry is trying to pick up the slack. I'm sure at the bottom of that, you'll find a BlackRock, State Street, or Vanguard pulling the strings on that. And thank God Soros just bought 200 radio stations to control that as well. But gamers are not as tolerant of woke propaganda. Maybe because the cost of games is so much higher, and I mean it's like what, $75 for a game or something, and then a gaming computer is probably over $1,000. So that there's a lot more money invested in it. And the thing is, gamers just don't seem to be politically correct. Where even if they're left wing, they're still dropping epithets and saying on PC things because they just don't like being told what to do. And this current soy bullshit cancel culture revolution, I don't think it can continue, because it's a fire that keeps going until there's a paralysis of analysis to making movies, to making comics, to making anything, because people are so scared of cancel culture, where it becomes like in Russia or Cuba, where people have a public face and they have a private one. but it means that public things like movies or anything in the mainstream, social media or podcasts, they're all in the same boat where they're scared of walking through this PC minefield, which the left wing wants to deny, or they say cancel culture doesn't exist, or it's good. And it's like, by all means, double down. Just accelerate this stuff because it's going to destroy itself one way or another, because you can't continue along this path. You're going to have like a separation of society where you have people who are, I don't even know if they're left or right, but people who are comfortable being politically incorrect. And I said years ago, you're going to see it with stand-up comedy. You're going to see it with comedy in general, because ultimately you can't keep telling the same jokes about white people and blonde people and Christians. It's just not funny anymore, and people are just not going to pay money to sit in an echo chamber. People are really tired of politically correct milquetoast everything, where everything is safe, where Indiana Jones, for 3 out of 5 movies, fights the same World War II guys, the Hugo Boss. In fact, in a time period where the communists would be the natural group to fight against the Russians or the Chinese or whatever, no, they have a time machine so he can fight time-traveling Hugo Boss. That's absurd. That's 3 out of 5 movies. You can't do that. And I say that comfortably because the movie lost $200 million. They go, oh, it wasn't because of that. Yeah, it was. Girl power. I mean, a lot of things, but like that, retelling that one story, it's like, well, that kind of is the future of Hollywood, where it's like every bad guy is going to be just an analogy to World War II. I was like, that ship has sailed. I was going to say you could tell some story with the Japanese involved as the bad guys if you want to flesh out that, but I think the whole genre of World War II is very much over. But Hollywood doesn't have any other bad guys. They couldn't make a Temple of Doom anymore because who were the bad guys there? Where was that site? India or something? It's like you can make brown bad guys. I mean, we can make a Temple of Doom movie, but they can't, and they won't distribute it. And they're the ones who are ponying up $200 million to make a movie. And if this current path continues, it kills the big screen experience, the big mainstream film, which is good. It needs to die. It's beyond saving. At this point, yes, accelerate it. Encourage Disney to keep. I want trans in everything. I think we need representation. Talk like an SJW. We need more diversity. You should totally remake Goonies. Oh, hell yeah. But black and trans this time. And Gremlins as well. And it should be about Trump and the rise of fashionableism in America, and have a bunch of blonde street gangs go around beating up Asian people, because that's been a problem in the California Bay Area. It's actually been, there's been blonde men running around attacking Chinese. Well, not exactly that, but close to that. If this dies, it allows a vacuum, and it allows alternative media to keep growing. And that's what we want. We want decentralized communication. We want networks outside of the political commissar's control. Anyway, there'll be a SubScribestar exclusive up later tonight, so you can check that out over there. And I'll see you guys all next episode.